There are 5 different view modes that you can view your documents with, and they can be found up here on the View tab in the Views group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see the print layout is the default, that's highlighted. And of the 5 here, down below in the status bar, Word put 3 of them. And you can see the first one, when you hover over it, is the read mode, then the print layout, and then the web layout. I don't know if you can see the print layout, but behind that icon you have a darker shade of blue. That's to let you know from the status bar point of view that that's the view that you're currently in, just as you can see it up here in greater contrast, the blue against the gray. Now the print layout mode is to view the document as it will appear when printed, like the positioning of the text, the tables, graphics, and images. Now of the 5, the print layout is the best for that, but better than that is the print preview. Now the print preview is a non-working view. These other 5 views are working views. So if you're working in one of these other views and you're like, okay, I'm ready to print it, I would recommend going to the print layout to work it over as much as you can, because what you see here in general is what's going to be coming out of the printer, and then the final say or view is the print preview, and that can be found by clicking on the File tab, going to Print, and over to the right is the print preview, which we'll cover in later training videos of what you'll find that what you put into the Word document sometimes won't come over here in the print preview, so you may have to change that and vice versa. What you don't put in there may come over here, and so you may want to try to hide it. In any case, let's go back to our 5 views. So that's the print layout. You also get the option of having the horizontal and vertical ruler. Of course, you can uncheck that and not have any rulers, but I'm going to go ahead and check it to show them here. And from those rulers, you can see that the gray shaded area of it going down here is the left margin, 1 inch, going from 1 to 0. Then you have the workable space here until you hit the right margin from 6.5 to 7.5, and then you've got your top margin 1 to 0, and then from this point forward on down. Of course, I've got some text in the top margin, which is the heading, and we'll talk about headings later. Let's go to the next view, and you'll see the contrast here as we go from one view to another is the read mode. I can access it here, and you can see in the pop-up if you want to read more about what that view is. It says it's the best way to read a document, including some tools designed for reading instead of writing. Click it to access it here, or you can do it down below in the status bar, but we'll do that later. And you can see that for reading, it's pretty large. That's helpful. And you can either hit the arrow to go to the next page, or you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to also help you with reading. You can click on the View menu and say, do you want to view the page in a different color like sepia? Ooh, that's sepia cool. Or you can click the View menu and say you want to change the column width to something narrow, so it looks more like newspaper format. So instead of reading a line that goes all the way over to the right, in which case we can lose where we're at, more so than if we just had a short way to go before we had to return to the next line here and then the next one. So that's a pretty nice view that I like. Click on the view. You can change layouts. You can go to a paper layout, which is a little bit narrower, but let me go back so I can show you that when I go back to the column layout, it remembers the previous settings. In fact, if I come down below in the status bar to go to the print layout, which is the best way for me to be able to switch views here, go back to the default view, that when I go back to the reading mode, it remembers it. Fancy. Let's go back to the print layout. And then from there, up in the views group, you have the web layout, which I could have accessed from the status bar down below, which I will right now. And so you can see here on the web page with Visit Us way over here, and then down below, Read More and Visit Us. It's not aligned underneath the paragraph. So in this view, we can make changes before we save it as a web page, which is nice because that way we don't have to see it after the fact as we save it as a web page and going, oh, what the fudge. Then the next view that we can go to is the draft. Now the draft view is a mode that only shows text without pictures or layouts to make sure that we focus on the text only. So because images can get in the way, especially if you're in a meeting and you're like, let's get from one point to the next, and you have to scroll through all these pictures. That can be very annoying. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And you can see down on the zoom bar, it's at 154%. So if that's too large, you can click and drag it the other way. But I like the default. Oh, that's pretty good. And then finally, you have the outline. And you can see when I hover over it, it says you can see your document in outline form where content is shown as bulleted points. The view is useful for creating headings and moving whole paragraphs within the document. So let's go ahead and click on the outline view, scroll to the top, and I've got my headings and all the text below that. And for heading 1 is spiritually. If I want to be able to just focus on the headings because I have tons throughout my document, instead of scrolling through tons and tons of pages, go to the outline view, come up here in the outline tools group and click on, instead of showing all levels, just show level 1. It collapses everything below the headings to show the first level of our headings. So you have heading level 1. If you assigned another heading below spiritually as a heading level 2, when you expanded that, if you want to expand it just by double clicking on it, it would show the second heading. Then that can have another heading below that, and then below that it can have the body of the text. But right now I just have the heading here and then the main body. I don't have any subheadings. So if I double click on it, it collapses. Now notice how you've got that fuzzy gray bar underneath these headings. That's to let you know that there is text below the headings, because if you didn't see it, and this is a working document, you can go, hey, I don't see any fuzzies below the Step 5 family. That means we need to add some content or text to our 5th step family. And then to go ahead and see all of them, well, click on the drop down arrow, because we don't have a heading 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. We want to see not only the first headings, but all the text go to all levels. And we'll cover this a little bit more in detail in a later training video, but that's the gist of it. And as far as moving things around, if you need to move them, you notice how when I hover over that plus sign there, that when I double click on it, it collapses. You can also click and hold the plus sign and drag and put it and rearrange it after, like, let's put step 1 after step 2. Wow, that was fancy. So when I go back to my print layout view, I should have first step 2 and then step 1. Let's go to the print layout view by clicking on it down below in our status bar, or you can just come up here and in the outline view, it's the only view of the 5 that gives you the close button. So click on that and we're back to the print layout, and there's step 2 and step 1. Now I don't like that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit up in the quick access toolbar. I want to undo that move. So I'll click on it once and it automatically moves it back to where we originally had it, step 1 and then step 2. One last thing I want to show you is new to Word 2013 is the last location bookmark. So after I close my document, well, before I do that, let's go down to page 2 and I leave my cursor there. My last location is just before step 4 emotionally, and when I close out, double click to open it back up and it says, hey, welcome back, Kurt, and then it quickly disappeared, but you get this little, well, it's known as a bookmark until you hover over it, and it expands and it says, welcome back, pick up where you left off. It was step 4 emotionally, and that was a few seconds ago. Oh, that's so fabulous. So if you have hundreds of pages, just look for this little guy over on the right hand side, click on it, and whoop, put you right to it. Again, that's where I last left my cursor. I didn't even save the document, but it remembers. Again, it's called the last location bookmark, and that's new to Word 2013.